I was a CIR in Fukushima-ken for 2 years in the 90s. I won't say which 2 years. There I had probably one of the most formative experiences of my life. Indeed, the career that I've pursued was largely based on my experience working in an international relations office in a beautiful part of Japan that has unfortunately suffered a trifecta of just awful things this past year. And I can tell you that not a day goes by that I don't think of the friends I made while I was there, the host family that I had the opportunity to stay with, and the communities that I visited and the people I interacted with. Especially when I think of places like Soma, which was such a vibrant little place and has suffered so horribly. I think coming back to Canada is harder than leaving. And having been asked to offer a few comments tonight, I thought about my first time coming back to Canada from Japan, and then the next time I came back from Japan, and then the next time I came back from Japan, and the 3 other countries that I've lived in and I moved back to Canada from. And I can tell you it gets easier over time. But that's not to diminish the difficulty you face the first time you come back. And I honestly believe that reverse culture shock, particularly when you live in a culture that's so different from our own, like Japan, that when you come back, your expectations don't often meet reality. I had enormous difficulties coming back from Japan and reintegrating myself into Canadian society. And so I understand what you're going through. At the same time, the richness of your experience will be with you forever. And that's something that you should treasure. I know I certainly do.
I guess the Tohoku earthquake was a very memorable experience. And the good thing that came out of that was I got to see how everyone around me handled it. Not just my friends, but also the Japanese people around me, and how everyone kind of came together. And there wasn't people just running around, like, what's the word I'm looking for? Just taking things, or just, everyone was very calm, and everything felt like it was the best outcome that could have been in that situation, if that makes sense.
I was in Fukui. I always have to explain to people where Fukui is when I say that I was from Fukui, because it's not a very well-known part of Japan. But now that I've lived there for 2 years, I couldn't have imagined living anywhere else in Japan. Just the people really touched my heart, and I really cherish all of the moments that I had there, and I think it's going to be 2 years that I will never forget and will shape where I go in the future and what I do, so I'm really grateful for that.
My original reason for going to Japan was because I'm Japanese American, like 3rd generation, and so my grandma and grandpa, they can speak Japanese, but then it kind of got lost in the next generation. My parents, they speak 0 Japanese. They only know food, and they also Ohayo gozaimasu, and they know benjo, and that's it. That's all they know.
Now let's meet a CIR.
Hi, my name is Dana Birdie. I'm a CIR from the USA, and I'm currently working in Aomori Prefecture.
Tsugaru City is in Aomori Prefecture, in the north of Japan. Winter here brings the sight of a beautiful range of snow-capped mountains. This area is famous for its apple orchards and their delicious fruit.
I usually drive my car to work. It takes about 7 or 8 minutes. But if I want to, I can ride my bike as well, which I do in the spring and summer.
Dana works at Tsugaru City Hall, where she is involved in a number of projects through her role as a CIR. Let's find out more.
My situation as a CAR is broken up into several categories. I visit preschools and kindergartens all over the city. I also interact with an American military installation. We have a sister city and we have programs where we visit them and they visit us. We run an international festival in the fall that I help to organize. And I run English conversation classes, culture classes taught in Japanese, and dance classes as well. And I also translate and interpret, and I write articles for the town newsletter.
外国人と話す機会が少ないので、この辺りは。まずは本当にちょっとした話するだけでとても刺激になってですね、それが国際化の第一歩だと思ってます。
Today, Dana is working outside of the City Hall, visiting a preschool. She visits many of the schools in her area a few times a year.
Oh, wonderful! 行きますか? おはようございます。Good morning. What I usually do with them is I introduce a map of the world and I explain, where Japan is and where my country is, and a little bit about where I'm from, a little bit about myself. Usually at the end of the year, I'll do crafts with them that are related to American culture so that they can learn a little bit more about what America is like or what someplace other than Japan is like, rather than just teaching them English. This time I'm teaching them about Thanksgiving, so I talk about what Americans do on Thanksgiving. Today we made hand turkeys out of construction paper, and that was really fun.
デーナさんはご覧の通りすごく明るくて何でも一生懸命やる姿がすごい印象的な方なんですけども、その一生懸命やる姿が子どもたちにも心から伝わってくるっていう感じでとても素敵な方だと思ってました。
Hoping that the people in her community might share her interest in American dance, Dana offered to teach a jazz dance class in her free time. As a Jet, the possibilities for community involvement are as limitless as your imagination.
I find that there's a lot of flexibility in my job. Of course, there's a lot of variety. There's also a lot of room for my own creativity and things that I'd like to do to be a coordinator of international relations. It's a very, it's kind of a vague term, but it gives you a lot of room to grow, and I've had fun with that.
Dana also has an interest in Japanese traditional culture, so she finds ways to participate in cultural activities within her community in her free time.
I'm here tonight at the taiko practice for Wanokai, which is the group that I belong to for Tachi Nebuta Festival. They're practicing a couple of songs that they use at other festivals in Aomori, which is what I'm learning today.
She started taiko practice just 6 months ago, but was able to join her group members when they played at the summer festival.
Of course, living abroad can be really difficult sometimes, and no one goes without a little bit of culture shock. But I found that my community was really, really welcoming, and I was willing to seek out people, and in return, I've gotten to feel like I have a permanent place here, even though my job is only temporary.